Absolutely. He went on for about 40 minutes, which is quite incredible. There's a lot to pick apart there. Yeah, but you're right. 3 weeks away, and it's a cliffhanger. Is the White House getting cold feet?
Two presidents and allies sitting together but not talking the same language when it comes to the planned summit. US President Trump suggested a possible delay in the upcoming meeting, even as South Korea's President Moon talked as though the Singapore summit was still on track.
There are certain conditions that we want, and I think we'll get those conditions. And if we don't have the meeting. And if it doesn't happen, maybe it'll happen later. Maybe it'll happen at a different time. But we will see.
We are looking forward to the first ever US-North Korea summit, and we find ourselves standing one step closer to the dream of achieving complete denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula and world peace.
Trump talked of a changed attitude from the DPRK about getting rid of its nuclear weapons, even at one stage pointing the finger at China, suggesting something may have happened at the second meeting between President Xi and Kim Jong Un. But for both the DPRK and South Korea, Pyongyang's recent reticence stems from this man, US National Security Advisor John Bolton, who compared the current negotiations with the DPRK to those with Libya, which gave up its nuclear weapons research in 2003. Libya's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, was overthrown and killed after a Western-backed intervention in 2011. Well, the DPRK reacted angrily to that comparison. Last week, a top DPRK official issued this statement. This is not an expression of intention to address the issue through dialogue, he said. It is essentially a manifestation of an awfully sinister move to impose on our dignified state the destiny of Libya or Iraq, which had been collapsed due to the yielding of their countries to big powers. And it's not just the DPRK. This from a former South Korean unification minister and lawmaker in Moon Jae-in's party. There are several landmines on the way to the summit between North Korea and the US, he said. One of those landmines just exploded. John Bolton. US President Trump is rejecting the Libya model and said Tuesday he was prepared to guarantee Kim Jong Un's safety if a deal was reached.
But it's not just the Libya model. Just 3 weeks from the planned summit, there are still deep differences on how any deal would be negotiated. Now, the White House wants the DPRK to permanently scrap its nuclear weapons before lifting any sanctions. The maximum pressure campaign continues. Pyongyang and Seoul prefer a more step-by-step approach to build trust on both sides. Asier.
And the DPRK has said it is not interested in a unilateral denuclearization, if you will. So what incentives, what concessions is the U.S. ready to make to the DPRK?
Well, Moon Jae-in, after that Oval Office meeting, briefed South Korean reporters and said they talked a lot about, him and President Trump, about turning the armistice of the Korean War of the 1950s into a peace. That would be recognizing the DPRK as a state. That's something that Pyongyang has always wanted. And also, there's a sort of make the DPRK great again feeling too. Both US President Trump and Mike Pompeo, his Secretary of State, both have said today that they are willing to give economic incentives to help transform the DPRK economy. Pompeo said that when he was in Pyongyang for his second meeting with Kim Jong Un, they talked about the future of a prosperous DPRK. So there is that. But of course, still the sticking point remains. Washington wants all the weapons gone before that, and that brings us back to the Libya example, doesn't it?
Oh, Lord. Okay, Kim,
Nathan
King, thank you so much.